us how long you've been practicing as a neurologist and what's the difference between
Sure,
functional medicine?
sure. So, hello, everybody. So functional neurologists are a term, this is a kind of misnomer. I had this conversation with another physician like last week. Functional neurologist, I think chiropractors, certain chiropractors are referring to themselves as functional neurologists. It's like kind of not fully accurate. So it's a little confusion there. I'm a Western trained, traditionally trained medical doctor. So I'm an MD. Um, so any integrative physician is basically somebody that integrates usually Western and Eastern philosophies, which is what I do. I didn't always do that. I was trained traditionally. I've been a neurologist for about 15 years. Um, the regular channels of training, residency, fellowship, and all of that, we were not taught any of the non-Western side. So that's all stuff that's been self-taught over the years for me. That's all self-study. But so essentially, how I define it as I do Western medicine, I do standard types of neurological testing, MRIs, all that stuff, lab work, of course. And I do sometimes use pharmaceuticals, but I would say that I practice medicine in a very conscious way. I do not overuse pharmaceuticals. I'm very, very cautious and careful and really try to actually use non pharmaceutical options when I can. There are cases where I'll give an example in epilepsy, right? They're just going to get medicine. It's just, people have said to me, "Oh, you're holistic. Can you treat my epilepsy or my seizures with, naturally?" I was like, no. There's limits. There's limits to what we can do. Almost everything else though is negotiable in my world. Certain conditions are not, but almost everything is where we can do some non-pharmacological options. A lot of times patients will opt to do a combination, or sometimes people come to me and whatever condition it is, let's say it's just migraines and they're having horrendous migraines. We might start with pharmaceuticals to get them better. Because sometimes people have come to me, they're waiting months, they're waiting years to have gone to doctors, they're dealing with it, they're struggling. At this point, they're not able to function as, at their job or as a parent, they're suffering. So I go, well, maybe that's where we start off with pharmaceutical options because it's quick. I always tell my patients it's fast, but it's not something we want to stay on if we don't have to. So what I do is I start them sometimes on that, and then in the background we'll work naturally to actually get to the underlying causes, which is really what all physicians should be doing, getting to the underlying causes of the conditions. So we work concurrently, and then sometimes I'm able to eliminate completely or lower the medications that we do.
I see. And I think you answered my second question, which was from Marie. How does functional neurologist differ from a conventional neurologist? And do you treat people in other countries or only in the US?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I guess I'm not technically a functional neurologist because, as we were saying before, there tend to be chiropractors. So again, it's semantics. I think they're all understanding kind of basically what I am is
It's the integrative
integrative.
approach,
Yeah. So
funny Eastern and
same
Western.
thing. It's yeah, just what I explained in terms of seeing patients. I mean, that's an option. We can always give you the email, and you can email our office, and we can set something up. Respective of time zones and other things. We could discuss that. We could discuss that. We can always have them email anyone's interested. My office. We could provide that to them.
Can I ask you a personal question? What made you switch from a regular Western neurologist to an integrative neurologist?
It's a good question. That's a long story. I'll try to summarize it. I'm going to go way back. My father, he's not alive anymore. He passed almost 7 years ago. I consider him to be one of my best teachers, really, and I kind of understand why I chose him because I think we choose our parents. He was into natural and holistic medicine in the early 90s. So I was pretty young at the time. And I would see him reading like Life Extension magazine and stuff, and I was at this point already interested in medicine. I knew I wanted to do something in the medical field. But I would see him reading these books. And, to be honest, I was so in the track of Western medicine in my mind, even as a young person, because I was like, I don't know. I don't know what this is all about. Flash forward, I didn't really necessarily always understand or respect how much my father knew. I'll give you an example. When my mother in 2012 was diagnosed with diabetes, her hemoglobin A1C was 15. Like, didn't want to address it, the whole thing. He was able to get her off insulin that they put her on and bring her A1C levels to almost normal within a year. with only natural medicine. So that was when I started to go in 2012. I was a resident at the time. I was a neurology resident, and I was all Western medicine, that was my thing. That was all I was taught. So that was when I would say the real tipping point came, where I started to take it more seriously. Although I had been taking supplements myself since my 20s because of my dad, I wasn't really certain how are these working? I don't know. But that was when the proof was there, because the numbers don't lie, as I always say. He was able to prove it. So from that point on, 2012, I would say, is the big shift, the big turning point, really the very, very start, the infancy of when I started to understand that there's a lot more to this. So that being said, still practice regular Western medicine because it's all I knew to do. I was in training at the time still as a neurology resident, and there wasn't other options. There just wasn't a way to integrate this yet. So flash forward, I go into, practice for a corporate entity, large corporate entity, for about 10 years. And during that time, I'm slowly starting to really go, wait a minute, there's more to this, like really kind of slowly. And I have a son who was born in 2016 with significant developmental delay. With all the doctors kind of shrug their shoulders. We don't know why this happened. We don't know. There's no answers. And I went to every kind of doctor you could think of, everything, had every test in the world. And it's like, we don't know. Assume some kind of genetic thing that can't be tested for. But then I started to realize, like, because my journey with my son is actually how I realized it was that woke me up, really. I said to myself, there has to be other options. And so I started to research more and more holistic and natural options for him. And therefore I realized I had it kind of like a, what's the word? Existential crisis of how I was practicing medicine all these years. And I was like, this isn't the right way. So I started to slowly integrate it, even in, again, my corporate medical job, where I was not working for myself yet. I was slipping it in there, writing supplements on papers, take this, take that, and it was like a little bit, it was trickles. And I felt very inauthentic. I was like whispering, right? So it felt strange. So that's kind of had practice for years. And so flash way forward, 2023, that was 3 years into my decision to open a private practice. So actually in the beginning of pandemic, it actually came to be in a meditation. So the whole long story. So 2020, March or April, I laid down to meditate. It was a really difficult time for me. And I had no idea that I wanted to do what was about to be implanted in my brain. No idea. At all. But I knew I was dissatisfied with my career a little bit. And I couldn't tell you why. I was like, I don't know. COVID was happening, pandemic was happening. It was just a rough time for everybody. So what I was kind of shown, if that's a word, or understood in a moments of time, was the entire idea for actually what I'm going to be presenting to here in a bit, which was not only my medical practice. I actually saw it with the wellness center, and I saw it as one entity. So I saw something years down the line. And I was like, what the hell was that? What was that? And I literally got up and I was like, huh? And then I was mad. I was actually angry. I was after a divorce. I was like starting over financially. I'm like, how am I doing this? With what money am I going to do this? And it was like such an awesome idea, but it made me angry because I'm like, I can't do this. Like, this is ridiculous. So from that on, things started to happen, manifested in my life that allowed me to be able to save towards doing this. And so if you ask, you get it. I understood soon after, this is the path I'm supposed to go on. So saw it in a meditation, saw the entire plan, maybe 5 or 10 year plan in it, like a knowingness. It's hard to explain it. If you guys are meditators, you kind of get that probably. I guess I call it a download. But what's crazy is it's all been coming true. And it's like almost like a little bit of a roadmap was there. And I couldn't see all the details by any means at all, but saw some basics and saw the integration of exactly kind of what I'm doing now. I saw that this has to be fully integrative and 50 plus services, which are in the works. We'll get to that. So I guess that's probably long answer, longer than it maybe needed to be.
Definitely long.
But that's everything. That's really how this all came about.
I love it. I love it. And thank you so much for sharing. I think it's just amazing. When I hear stories like this, I just get like chills, because that's how I get the book idea to publish Beating Multiple Sclerosis. 3 years ago, and it happened without me almost lifting a finger, It's just became true. And that's how I find you through Angie, who is also in the book, and she lives in Long Island. And it's just,
She wrote me into the book, which was super cool.
yeah.
I didn't even ask her to. I was like, I'm in the book? Like, yeah, I wrote you in the book. I'm like, cool. Like, awesome. Okay. I didn't even ask. I didn't even know she was in the book, or I didn't even know about the book. She came to me one day and, yeah, I'm going to write you the book. I was like, awesome.
I wish I knew you, because I would write you in my story as well.
Your next book. Your next
book, because you'll write others. And I've known
Yes.
God,
And hopefully I can write about this amazing new community that is growing so fast, and we can all share success stories here. So thank you again for joining us tonight. I also have another question. This is more like a nervous system related, which I'm sure this is like you saw so many similar stories. Christine wants to know, is there a way to restore functions or rebuild communications in the nervous system?
I mean, that's a good question. And again, the Western answer might be like, no, you can't. And absolutely you can. It's not going to be in the pharmaceutical world, though. That's going to be the integrative approach. Examples, I think hyperbaric oxygen is extremely, extremely helpful for things like this. There's supplementation, hyperbaric oxygen, in my opinion. I mean, I don't say it cures everything, but I think it potentially could. It could cure most things, but it's red light therapy, hydration, even some simple things. But the big things, the heavy hitters for me recently have been hyperbaric oxygen, red light therapy, which we will talk about. We have all that here, and just all kinds of forms of detoxification. Once you detoxify this at the cell level, I always explain this. You can detoxify the kidneys, the liver, blood. That's fine. That's great. But if you're not detoxifying at the cellular level, it's all going to rebuild. It's going to just reaccumulate. So what I do, and again, that's a bigger topic and there's a lot more detail, but what I do in terms of the combination of these things and supplementation, we detox at the cellular level, which is how that's one of the root causes of all disease. Really all diseases, I think it's about 7, 8, 9 different things that are wrong that need to be fixed. I'll give examples like inflammation, gut health, overstress, overthinking, cortisol. I'm blanking out at the moment. Cell signaling, cellular toxicity. Those are just examples. If you fix all of them, you get optimal health. Yeah. So, but yeah, to answer the question, I think hyperbaric oxygen, and you guys can do research and check on this online. There's definitely studies showing with a lot of neurological conditions, including MS, where this is how you start to rewire, because the brain has amazing regenerative capabilities. We just have to give it the chance to do so. The damaged areas are the damaged areas, the plaques are the plaques. But just like in a stroke, like anything else, where there's scar tissue, any scar tissue related condition in the brain or spinal cord, you rewire around it. So that's what you do. It's a way of, you just have to, it's compensation.
What about meditation and mindfulness practices, breath work?
Very, very, very important ones that I didn't mention. I'm a big fan of all of those, and I teach those to patients all the time. I've healed myself in many ways through all that as well. Yes, breath work. I would say to people, there's free water, free oxygen. We have free medicine here in the world. Meditation's huge. I have done a lot of work, and I'm doing actually extra in-depth work right now on detachment work, how to detach from the body. And I want to recommend right now, actually, somebody I'm listening to, RJ Spina. If you guys want a really great series of books, and he's on YouTube, RJ Spina. The guy actually healed himself from paralysis in 2016, and he had a massive awakening, completely healed his body. Not only did he do it, he tells you how to do it yourself. So I love him because he literally says, this is what I did. He's not like, yeah, I did this, I'm cool. Like, he is cool, but he did it, and he's explaining how. And there's literally prescriptive things in the book of how he did, all the books of how he did it. I've been studying this guy pretty intently for a couple months. I can tell you, I kind of believe I'm getting to the next level in my own journey with this. And I've told patients about him. I think that's a very impactful person. I think you kind of skip all the other stuff and just get right to him. But yeah, meditation is the way to silence the mind, stilling the mind, silencing the mind. You can't really heal well if you're not able to silence it, and not just in sleep, during being awake. That being said, I always tell people as well, you can meditate for 20 or 30 minutes a day, and that's great. But what are you doing with the rest of the 23 hours? It's just like eating healthy all day and then having like a 2,000 calorie milkshake from Carvel, right? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. So you have to kind of find a way, which I've been able to do better and better, keeping yourself in that kind of meditative state and that energy as much as possible. You're human, you're gonna get out of it. But if you can average yourself at a high vibration, which I believe to be done through many ways, meditation is almost the biggest key. And stilling the mind, silencing the mind. That's when the healing comes. That's when the body is able to regenerate itself. I literally believe anything's healable, if that's a word, can be healed.
I love that you're talking about keeping yourself in a high frequency, because that's my latest thing. And also, you mentioned like believing in miracles. I think that really helped me in the beginning of my diagnosis, just holding on to those stories that were giving me hope and believing that if they did it, I can do it too. So thank you for mentioning that book. I definitely add it to my list.
4 different books. He is incredible. I mean, I've told a lot of people about him. Incredible.
I have a few more questions here. Do you recommend certain types of stretching or movement for people with spinal lesions to safely keep the nervous system engaged?
Types of stretching. I mean, I think yoga and maybe more gentle if it was a recent attack or something episode. Yoga, I think, is always pretty safe for that, and that's a good way of doing it. And there's all the different types, and I'm not an expert on all the types, and I've done different ones myself. Hot yoga, probably not a great idea because, you guys probably know with MS, heat can exacerbate symptoms. Probably not a good idea to do hot Bikram, which I used to do. It was really difficult. But just all the different, I think otherwise, there's a really cool type of yoga that I can't remember the name of it, where it's very energy movement based. I think that's an excellent one, and I have to look that up. I can't remember the name of it, the type of yoga. I'll have to look it up and I'll get back to you guys. But I think that's actually a really good type. Really all the yoga other than maybe hot yoga.
And are there any movements that to avoid?
Yeah, I always say be careful with neck. Like if you're doing yoga, do not do headstands. That's just, I think any neurologist would probably tell you it's a bad idea. No headstands, nothing where your spine is really bent a certain weird way. Be very careful with alignment. That's probably the key. No headstands, careful with alignment of the spine. But the twist, carefully, everything gently. If anything hurts, just stop, then you just realize your body's giving you the signal that it's too much.
Yeah. And any other exercises that should be avoided?
Avoided. Again, heat you got to be careful with, although it's not to be avoided, but just to be careful because it could really exacerbate symptoms.
What about running marathons? I'm always like
careful. Got to be careful with that. It's a lot of exertion. Like I will never dissuade somebody from doing something like that because that's awesome.
Yes.
Just do it carefully. And I wouldn't say don't do it. Just lots of training, working your way up. And actually, Gary might be able to comment more even on the physical aspects because he's actually has a background in athletics and training. So
yeah, I mean, I think that anything that you start small. Any type of exercise where you're trying to push yourself to the limit, while battling some type of illness or any type of disease. You want to start a little smaller, like maybe even doing sprint triathlons or sprint marathons where they're 5Ks, 10Ks, stuff like that to kind of get your body acclimated to maybe doing a longer distance. I'm also a big proponent of weight training, but again, you have to be very careful with doing that as well. No overexertion, but keeping the body in motion. That old adage, the body in motion, stays in motion, or an object in motion stays in motion. It's the same thing. If you keep your body in the best possible shape you can keep it in, it will reward you and it'll pay you back. So that's part of the health and fitness aspect. But the wellness and holistic aspect is a whole nother approach to what Dr. Tal is talking about as well, and what we've created here, in addition to her current practice.
Yes, I always feel like every time I do weightlifting, it's just boost my mood. Like not only my energy, but like I leave the gym happy. And I know it has to do a lot with hormones, like a hormonal shift.
Sure, endorphins are released, oxytocin, all the different ones, dopamine, all those are, there's other ones. And those actually literally heal the body. Exercise literally does release the endorphins. It heals the body for sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nadine, she said, I have been experiencing memory issues for months now. I'm 45, so I don't know if it's perimenopause or MS or both. Are these typical MS symptoms? If so, any advice on how to mitigate them?
Okay, good question. So I'm right there with you at 45. So this is a very common time where perimenopause really kind of starts to hit. So the cognitive symptoms that I see in just anybody even without MS every day. Just saw a case a couple hours ago. So it's hard to separate which one it is. That would be hard to know. I guess if that's a tough one. So I guess working on both issues. I mean, I can tell you some examples of like supplements and stuff that help just in general with cognition, and then ones with perimenopause. Like black cohosh, I found to be helpful with some of that, some of the perimenopause type symptoms. That's one example. I think there's progesterone type stuff like I think it's wild yam is good. I can't even pronounce one of them that I'm thinking. I can't remember one. I don't have my notes in front of me on this. There was another one. I just literally wrote this for somebody. Black cohosh is a big one. So, I mean, I guess that's a whole nother world of how to fix perimenopause. That's just like huge. I'm still trying to figure that out. For the other side of it, I mean, again, back to hyperbaric oxygen. I think hyperbaric oxygen is helpful for regulation of hormones. Its regulatory functions start to come back to baselines with that. And it's really good for cognition. In fact, like we're at our wellness center, we're seeing people come in with, I have somebody with Parkinson's that's coming in who's brain fog and anxiety and mood issues and depression is lifting after several sessions. I think that's a big one. But it's hard to know which in this particular case is the issue. Either way, I would almost like treat it the same. It sounds crazy, but like again, it's a few things needed to optimize health. And if you do one thing, you're probably going to help all the things. If you treat the inflammation, the overactivity of the immune system in MS patients, you're going to regulate hormones. It's just going to go. It's going to happen naturally, because my approach is keeping everything in balance. Like let's say somebody comes in for back pain, and I might just check a whole bunch of lab work on them, and the back pain can't be solved and all this. If they're deficient in something, or there's something going on that we're missing, it's going to make the seemingly unrelated problem worse. So we have to optimize and balance. Like I do a very deep dive. We've done it, integrative lab work, where we check for tick-borne illnesses, autoimmune conditions, deficiencies, all kinds of things, other things. And when we optimize that, I've noticed other conditions just start to get better. Things unrelated to neurology, even. They're like, oh, my, rheumatoid arthritis got better, whatever it is, because it's common pathways. I'm starting to see the patterns in the years I'm practicing that you fix a few things, you start to optimize a lot of health things, or all health things. The hyperbarics is big. And saunas, I like red light sauna or infrared sauna. Infrared is great. Detoxification of the body. What else? God, there's just like, what else can you do? It's just, can't you do? Supplement wise, like I like lion's mane a lot for cognition. Ginkgo biloba, turmeric. God, there's a ton I give. NAC, alpha lipoic acid. The list goes on. God, there's just tons. I could probably spit out 20 right now, and I take them all.
I think, yeah, I was about to say, I think I take them all because you prescribe, not prescribe.
I recommend it. Yeah, these are ones that I take myself. I practice what I preach. I do everything that I recommend. There's nothing that I recommend except for pharmaceuticals that I don't try first. Like, I don't do that. That'd be weird. But I everything I recommend, I try it. I've done it. I've tested it on myself, other people, so it's all tried and tested.
Jasmine is asking, this is a really good question. When it comes to conditions like MS, fibromyalgia, and other autoimmune conditions, where so many systems are involved, like gut, nerves, toxins, stress, how do you figure out what's the real root causes? Where do you begin to untangle it all?
That's a good question. Very, very good question. So my approach is kind of similar in each case. I do a pretty deep dive of testing. So I'll kind of break it down in a nutshell. Lab work is huge in my field. And I never used to do the lab work. Years ago, I was trained to do it. We got a CBC, this, that, barely anything, barely a vitamin D level. Now I check about 20 to 25 different things in my lab workups, 10, 12 vials or more. So a deep panel of lab work, which is looking at kind of, I would call that metabolics. Let's call it metabolics. That's a generalization, but that's what I call metabolics. Sometimes we'll look at imaging, we'll look at the brain, spine, whatever is affected, the appropriate imaging. So that's looking at structure. So look at the structure, if there's structural issues. Then we look electrically. We do EEGs, EMGs, depending on what the issue is. We look at the electrical signals of the nervous system. We're interpreting that. We're interpreting eye movements. We do VNGs. We look at blood flow to make sure blood flow is good. We do ultrasounds of, carotid ultrasounds, TCDs. So we're looking to make sure, mostly it's ruling out. Like at the end of the day, most of this testing should be normal, but sometimes, even though we think it should be normal, it's not, and it's unrelated, and we find it, and then we can act upon it. Like, for example, I might be seeing somebody with memory loss. We check their blood flow, and probably unrelated, they have a 20% plaque in the carotid. But now we know, and we can do it holistically, how to prevent that from getting to be worse and them getting a stroke later on. So by doing a lot of like a in-depth testing, we kind of finding a lot of things are really pretty fixable most of the time. Not everything's fixable, but mostly it is. And that's how I do it. I go by the symptoms, of course. I go by the story. It's a really is a truly holistic approach. Physical examination, patient symptoms, deep dive into all those things. And then I put the pieces of the puzzle together. Is literally what I do every day. And it's hard to kind of explain it. It's taken me years to figure out how to get good at it. It wasn't always the way. I've just perfected as I go. And sometimes I use intuition. I mean, to be honest, I tell people sometimes with the knowledge is just the knowledge first always, right? But when the intellectual knowledge part is met and I'm like, I'm not sure, that's when I just actually tune into my intuition. A lot of times that'll take me that extra mile, extra step that I cannot get with knowledge.
I love that. Yes, I feel like our gut tells us a lot, not just about ourselves, but about the person in the room. That's when I learned Reiki and all those things. Yes.
I love Reiki.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm a Reiki master as well. And I love all that. I address in my practice, I address the energy body. I address the mental body, the physical body. All of those are within the body, but they all need to be addressed. Like if we're not addressing somebody's stressful situation, what they're emotionally stressed about, we're not really addressing the root cause. It all comes in energy. It's in the physical body last. Actually, disease all comes from energetic imbalances. That's where it starts. And then the mental body and then the physical body. By the time it gets to the physical body, it's not too late, but it's late. It's late into the problem and the imbalance. So we have to actually address all the three layers. And that's why energy work, acupuncture, things like that, meditation, a bunch of things are actually helpful in addressing the energetic imbalances.
I love that. MS is related to stress and emotional trauma. How does that affect the deterioration of the myelin sheaths? David is asking.
Sure, and I agree that again, all diseases based in things like this, it basically turns the body against itself a little bit, which is the hallmark of all autoimmune conditions. It's just creating antibodies that are formed, and for whatever reason, why to the myelin sheath, I don't know, but it decides that it decides it wants to attack that area. As to why, yeah, no one knows the reasons as to why one person gets this condition, another. That's very complicated, and I wish I knew the answer to that. There's propensities, there's some genetic components, environmental, way bigger than genetics. And that's what happens. It's just, stress really causes dysregulation of the immune system at the end of the day. And from that one problem, you get probably 80% of disease, at least. MS being one of them, immune dysregulation. If you're dysregulating the immune system, nothing's going to work right.
Are there any supplements that you can recommend for repairing the myelins?
Sure. Alpha lipoic acid is very big. Some we mentioned before. N-acetylcysteine is very big for that. L-carnitine. High dose vitamin D is very important to MS. I think that there's a lot of studies that you guys might know, the link with low vitamin D and MS. Then again, like everyone has a low vitamin D, right? But there is links literally with low vitamin D levels. I think there's a latitudinal, I forget the study, something with where in the world you are latitudinally, and it has to do with less sun, so that there's certain viruses. So there's connections there. There's connections. So high vitamin D, super optimal vitamin D is good. What else? Obviously, all the B vitamins. That's just off the top of my head. Those are just a few. I actually think cortisol regulation is very big here. So doing things like magnesium glycinate for bedtime, rhodiola, other adaptogens, rhodiola, ashwagandha, L-theanine. Those are examples of things you could take at bedtime when relaxing to drop the cortisol levels, because the cortisol shoots up. That's what makes everything worse. And everybody's stressed all the time. Problem is, we live in a world of, honestly, chaotic world, where we have to find our inner balance, and that's how you fight this. The cortisol levels are a big issue, and that's nutshell.
What do you think about the Epstein-Barr virus? I know we had that conversation in the office the other day.
Yeah, that's been also very well documented to be connected with MS. Then again, like, everyone's had Epstein-Barr, right? So it's, it's tough, because so many, almost like 80% of the population or something probably test positive. There is a connection as well, and I think that's that low vitamin D virus. There's connection, but yeah, there's certain viruses that I believe maybe look like myelin to. I think the theory is, if I'm correct, the virus looks like myelin to the body. So then it's called molecular mimicry. It's done attacking the virus. Virus gets suppressed or really dormant. And then the immune system will start to attack the myelin sheath, because it kind of looks like the Epstein-Barr virus. There's something in it that may look like the capsule or something like that. But it's like a molecular mimicry thing. So I think that's the connection specifically with Epstein-Barr. But it's hard to connect because the virus is just so common. But it causes a lot of issues. Lysine is good for that, by the way. Lysine is very good in suppressing any of the herpes viruses, which includes Epstein-Barr. Lysine, excellent for that.
I think since I'm taking lysine, my numbers on my blood work for Epstein-Barr just got improved.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you for that recommendation.
Of course. Absolutely.
What do you think about the medication Kesimpta? David is asking also. I was prescribed Kesimpta to stop progression, but stopped after reading Agatha's book, which I'm scared to hear that a little bit. What does Kesimpta do? Can I get the same effect naturally?
I'm going to be very honest and say I've never prescribed it. I'm going to be even more bold and say, this is going to sound a little shocking. Out of all the MS patients I have, which I'm not an MS center, I'm not an MS specialist, I'm a general neurologist, very few of my patients are actually on medicine. And it sounds crazy, but it's true. Very few. Most of them are actually doing it naturally. So I actually have gotten, to be very honest, not as in touch with the newer pharmaceuticals in MS. I'll be honest, I've never prescribed that, and I would actually have to look that one up. So I will never lie and say that I know. I'm not actually sure on that particular one. But my patients mostly aren't on medicine.
And what do you feel like when the patients are coming back? Do you feel like they are improving? Their MRIs are improving? Do you still suggest them to get twice a year MRIs?
Twice a year seems unnecessary. If there's symptoms or something that seems like an episode, we do it on the spot. But, as time goes on, the standard is always like every year or so. I think 6 months is overkill, unless there's active disease process and it's very aggressive or something. If somebody's stable, once a year is more than enough, sometimes even less. I kind of go by how the person feels. And then we look and see the plaques. But I always tell people, like, the plaque matters to a degree. Sometimes I've seen patients look perfect, like no clinical symptoms, and they have tremendous amounts of plaque. And the opposite, I've seen people with very little plaques in the wrong places, and they have bad clinical disease. The progression matters. That's how 2 ways we track progression: symptoms, clinical symptoms, and the plaque burden, the white matter load, lesion burden. So at the end of the day, it matters, but I don't necessarily follow protocols quite as close as the standard Western people. Some of my patients literally say, you know what, I'm feeling good. Like, I don't want to check. Like, I'm feeling good clinically. Doesn't that matter? And I say, yes, it does. So we can hold off. So sometimes the mental aspect and stress of looking, I believe, can make the condition worse. I think that's very not standard way of looking at this in my field, but that is how I see it. Sometimes I'm like, if you're fine, you're fine. What are we doing here? Because we're not going to treat you with medication if you're feeling great. Now, again, if it's a tremendous change in white matter lesions, that's all right. Maybe we would, but the clinical aspects always matter most and first. You don't treat the MRIs, treat the patients. That's what I always say. Don't treat the MRIs, treat the patients. So, yearly, I think is more than enough in people with stable clinically, in my opinion.
Yes. Okay.
I don't want to give everybody gadolinium that much either. I don't do a lot of gadolinium in my practice, but with MS, we have to. So I try not to do more than once a year. That's even max for me because of the gadolinium load. I don't want to
That's that contrast, right?
That's a contrast. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to give people more than they need of any chemical.
Okay. And last question here. Are you familiar with Dr. Zamboni in Italy and his claim that MS is associated with defects in the arteries?
No, I'm not. That's interesting, though. No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
It's
All right.
interesting. That's interesting because that's usually older people, and MS is a disease of young people, generally 20s, 30s. So plaque in the arteries, that just doesn't make sense to me yet, but I'd have to read on it. It's not it's not clicking as to why that would be the case. You know what I mean? Two different things. Generally disease of young people. Plaque's usually going to be older people. I don't know. Willing to read about it and see, though. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Please share what are you doing in your practice wellness center because I heard a little bit about it, but I want to know more.
Okay, so this is Gary. I don't think we really necessarily introduced him before. I might have not. I'm sorry. So here, why don't you take this?
Yeah. So, Tal and I, we had very different paths, but we kind of came together on this particular, venture. A little bit of background on me. I'm a special education teacher, administrator. I do a lot of different things. I've also was a professional athlete. And in about 2015, I was in a horrific car accident. I lost part of my sight, part of my hearing, multiple surgeries. And I was kind of at like the peak of my physical fitness, and it was all kind of taken away from me at that moment. So, in my journey of trying to get well, most of the recommendations were pharmaceuticals, and that just was never my thing. I wouldn't even take Advil for a headache, so I wasn't looking to go that route. So in the process, I was looking for more alternative, holistic types of approaches to healing in my particular aspect, which was obviously the physical aspect. And I was able to find that through certain therapies like whether it was infrared saunas, cryo, a lot of these different therapies that were kind of, just scratching the surface about 10 years ago. In the process of me getting my treatment and recovering is when I actually met Tal. 10 years later, 8 years later, we were reintroduced because I had another injury that I had to get to meet up with her with. And we ended up, we hit it off. We both were at different stages in our lives. And when we came together, we had very similar paths and a lot of similar interests. Part of that was creating an alternative type of approach to medicine and to healing. And that's when Infinity Healing Health and Wellness was born, partly trying to find treatment for her son and me looking for alternatives to kind of get me back to the physical shape that I felt like I didn't think I could achieve. So what we've done here is we've added an extension onto our home. It's about a 1,200 square foot addition facility that encompasses 25 to about 45 different services that we provide some of our clients. And that includes infrared saunas, infrared cupping. We have hyperbarics, which I know that's a question in the chat, full body red light therapy, which we are the only wellness center on Long Island that's licensed with this particular full body red light, and the only one in New York State that's licensed for our weight loss program that we're also doing.
All natural, of course.
All natural. We're also doing peptides, hormone replacement therapy in men's health. We're doing localized red light therapy for facial rejuvenation, skin tightening, hair rejuvenation, fat loss. We're doing that same for full body red light therapy. And we're also doing localized cryo for the same stuff, including, facial rejuvenation, fat loss, as well as trauma based. So if you're had knee surgery or you're recovering from an injury, we can do localized cryo in that area too. One of our big sellers right now, and what people are really inquiring about, is our hyperbaric oxygen. So for those that don't know, hyperbaric oxygen is high level concentrated oxygen inside of whether it's a soft shell or hard shell sort of a chamber. On a daily basis, any human consumes about 20% oxygen, which is what we kind of live and we breathe, and that's the air that we get. We get about 20%. With this particular oxygen, where they measure it in atmospheres, we have a 1.6 soft shell atmosphere hyperbaric chamber in which you can get anywhere between 90 and 99% of concentrated oxygen. So what does that mean? What does that do? So any high level of oxygen helps with, and we talked about this a little earlier, Tal talked about it, with cellular communication, cellular detoxing. When we can start affecting areas at the cellular level and we can start rejuvenating or healing at that level, that's when we start to really see change in our illnesses. So I compare it to a relationship. If you're communicating and you're constantly letting each other know how you feel and how you're doing and how things are going, the relationship is symbiotic. It works. If you're not communicating, what happens? Things go into the toilet. So same thing with cellular communication. If the cells are communicating, there's a high level of health, wellness. Disease tends to be very, very nil or not present at all. But when those cells are not communicating, that's when you start to see the entrance of illness and disease, fogginess in the brain, fatigue, depression. All of these things kind of start to creep in, and we don't really see it until it becomes a major problem. So what we've been doing here is we have people that have Parkinson's that are coming in here, and after only 4 or 5 sessions, that fog has lifted and they're able to get out of bed, where they were in such a state prior to them coming to us for the 5 sessions, they couldn't even get out of bed, and was affecting their relationship with their spouse. We also have people that were NCAA athletes who had 17 surgeries, steel plates everywhere in their body, who couldn't get out of bed in the morning or without assistance, are now with peps in their steps coming here after 6, 7, 8 sessions of 1-hour hyperbaric treatments, who feel like they're back playing in NCAA competition. So we're doing some amazing things here. We're pairing it with full body red light therapy, which works with near infrared, far infrared, and red light, which is 3 deep penetrating therapies, all developed by NASA many, many decades ago. And that penetrates, and we can do things with red light therapy, including not only fat loss and pain reduction, but it also works with neuropathy. And I know some of our MS people, your patients in this community, they deal with that as well. So we have the formula. We've been mixing and remixing our formulas, and we're trying to find out the perfect antidote for a lot of these things that are going on. And we're pretty much on the precipice of it. We have healed so many people here, and we're very excited because this is essentially what she has created, Dr. Tal has created on her own, in her own practice. We've now created this as an extension of her practice in our home. So not only are we healing people with these types of autoimmune issues, but we're healing athletes. So that's where our 2 paths have now come together. And it's really an amazing thing. And we're excited about it because we're healing so many people without shoving pills down their throat. And I think that that's something that is very important nowadays. I think people are searching for that type of treatment and that type of therapy. They're not looking for the pharmaceutical approach anymore.
Thank you. I love that. Yes, and I agree. It's actually very funny. I want to share this. I was in a hyperbaric chamber when I discovered the school platform where we are having this community. So yes, it does help with brain fog. It did help me with my fatigue. So it's amazing. I highly recommend it for everybody. And Zira is asking, if you are in the middle of a relapse, is there something you recommend to help? And I think hyperbaric chamber is the answer from my side.
The Western is methylprednisolone, but it's steroids. But I have to give you both, because as an integrated physician, my job is to give you all the options, or give the people all the options. So Western med answer is going to be steroids. It's their only answer. Steroids, hydration, but then all this other stuff would be all applicable to relapses, in between relapses. I would treat it all the same. Go harder during relapse, of course, but know there might be some level of a healing crisis. Like if somebody's in a relapse, and they might be actively going to be detoxing harder. So you almost, some of these therapies, you might almost get worse before you get better. It's just something that we tell people, because detoxification is not pretty sometimes, and the healing process is not comfortable. Healing, it hurts at times. The stuff that has to come out has to come out. It's deep level cellular detoxification. That's the main thing that's happening. And mitochondrial repair and all this stuff is uncomfortable at times initially, but well worth the wait. It's not usually that long.
And Tal had talked earlier that there's only a handful of issues that really encompass a lot of the illnesses that we see. One being gut health, and I can share a personal story. Earlier in the year, I had been diagnosed with basal cell cancer on my face, and it was not a big deal. They were going to do this Mohs surgery that they had told me about. They told me everything about it except what I would look like after I was done. And for a pinpoint on a pen spot that was removed of the cancer that was removed, it looked like I was attacked by a bear. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's superficial, but it was quite concerning because it was my face. So when I had spoke to the doctors, they were not really sure about me going into hyperbaric, using red light, using cryo. They were actually against me using hyperbaric until I spoke to one of our mentors who has guided us with our hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And he said, Gary, when was your surgery? And I said, it was today. He said, 80 minutes a day, start tonight. And I did it for 6 weeks straight, a combination of cryo, red light, and hyperbaric. And within 3 months, I healed in about over what a year should have been. Even 1 week after my surgery.
Less than that.
Yeah. Even 1 week after my surgery, they took the stitches out. They couldn't believe there was no redness. They said, wow, how are you doing this? And I said, would you like to know? And I told them, and they weren't interested in listening to what I had to say. Which obviously goes along with their philosophies, which is fine. We're doing it a different way, and it's working. Everything that we see and we do here, we've done ourselves. We've helped repair ourselves. It's not from us just doing research; it's from us living it, and that's something that speaks to what we can do here. And again, not only did it help repair that scar or that wound on my face, simultaneously and separate from the basal cell, I had major gut issues. I couldn't even eat. We both were experiencing the same thing, which we couldn't really figure out why. One morsel of food, I would be doubled over in agony, running out from work to get Pepto and Tums. Couldn't figure it out. After I had the surgery, jumped in the hyperbaric 80 minutes a day for however many weeks I did it. My gut health was improved. It was remarkably better. It was gone. Any gut health issues were a thing of the past. And not realizing it as I'm going through the process, we even looked at each other and we said, my stomach's fine. Everything's fine.
Like a year of it. I was
Yeah.
suffering horrendously. Probably post-COVID gut or something.
Yeah.
What I was told. Nothing was working. The only thing that started to work before that was colostrum, high-grade colostrums. I highly recommend actually
Yes.
anybody with MS, anybody with anything, a complete immune system modulation. So high-grade colostrum. Brand I use is Gastro Defense. Gary uses
I use the Amra.
which is the more known one.
It's a little bit more fruity. It tastes a little bit better. So it's all about
Get
preference. Yeah.
colostrum if you can. Colostrum and hyperbarics healed my gut health within a matter of weeks, where I was struggling for about a year. I was
Yeah.
really, really having a hard time. So I believe it.
I can listen to you all night long. Like literally, I feel like you're speaking my language.
The only person that ever said that to
Listen
me.
to you
I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, but we're doing pretty cool things here, and anybody that's local, that's in your community, that would like to take a tour. We do tours 7 days a week. We are VIP, so at the moment we're not advertising out to the public. We are taking all our clients are really all basically word of mouth and come from recommendations, because we like to treat people here one at a time. So there's no flooding of people in here when people are using the facility. So we're trying to keep it very exclusive for right now, because there's a lot of people that are coming here that really need help, and we want to give them the time and energy that they need, and the privacy. So
we have salt cave. We have a salt room where we do
Yeah.
Reiki and sound. I know you're saying you're a sound healer, which is incredible. So we love sound healing.
Becoming one, yes. And I can't wait to visit you guys. I'm gonna make sure to take a video of the whole facility and share it in the community, just to see how it looks like, because I'm sure your area, wherever you live, it has like similar places that you can visit and check out and test it out, because it's just something that you can add to your daily, monthly routine, and you have to try different things.
Yeah. And sometimes, unfortunately, these are not things that are insurance covered, which is the greater problem. We all know why those things are not insurance covered, right? True wellness is not going to ever be covered. It's chronic illness is covered. So that's the thing. So there's some level of expense to it, but that's why, like at our center, we'll give what is it? care credit. What do we do?
Yeah, we use care credit as financing. We work with everybody.
We should make it,
you know,
reasonable.
We want everyday people to be able to afford this. It's not fair that rich people can afford it and be healthy and that we can't. So, and that was part of this model as well. So anything that we can do to make things easier on people to lighten the load while they're getting well is really, that's our vision here. And our mission is to go to
Maybe we can do a wellness retreat, because that's on my vision board. I would love to do a wellness retreat, and now I find a place. Sounds like.
Well, we do actually have something in the works. So, we're hoping that gets done by the spring. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be doing a full-fledged retreat here.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we're excited.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you have anything else you would like to share? Give us some hope before we let you go.
Anything can be healed. I've seen it. I've seen people heal themselves of stage 4 cancer. I've seen people heal themselves of all kinds of impossible or incurable disease. I don't believe anything's incurable. That's, again, another dogma that's placed on us to need chronic medications. It's just not true. It's a complete program. We've all been programmed since birth. Remember that. Remember that you can undo the programming. It's never too late. I'm undoing mine. I'm still undoing mine. Whether it's life programming, Western medicine programming, anything is fixable. Anything's healable. You just have to have the tools. Consciousness is the main tool, to be honest. If you have consciousness, you have everything.
Healing is inside of us. I think that's my motto.
It's all here. You don't have to go externally. It's all within us. There's external tools that help, but it's all within us. I believe that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we can have you another time.
Yeah. No, we would love that for sure. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And thank you for being my doctor. I'm very, very fortunate that I find you.
I love seeing you. I'm always so happy when you come. It's like a reunion always. Oh, you're the best. You're incredible. I'm so happy that you found me. And just, the universe brings amazing like minds and like energies together. That's what this is about. It's all resonance based. So incredible people come to me. You're one of them. There's incredible people. I mean, all kinds of people. I mean, very interesting people.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys. And everybody else, I hope I see you this week.
Yeah. Be well, everybody.
Let us know.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Anytime. We'll make it.